Hi, my name's Sam, and I'm a top 32 at the Genesys Champion event at the EUWCQ, and this is my deck. I played Blitzclique. I thought Blitzclique was probably the best generic option into the format. It's very flexible, the turns are hand traps are crazy, so I tried to make my deck as generic as possible just to try and cover all bases. So we'll get into the deck list. So starting off, we'll go with like the necessary engine requirements. We'll go three. We have 3 Surge. We'll have 3 Brain, 3 Whisker, and 3 Crackle, 1 Emmy for the monsters. These are pretty much all non-negotiable in this format. Like the combination of both Crackle and Whisker swings game so heavily by itself that like it's an auto win. It's almost equivalent of like the advanced format Holy Seal Fire Dark combo, where you generate so much advantage and resources that your opponent can't come back and you're taking out their resources as well. You also need to mandatorily run these. 3 the field spell, Hideout, 3 Breakaway, 1 Step Leader, and then we ran 2 Alternator, 1 Return Stroke. These are all necessary engine requirements. I'm not running this in advanced because I was running the Rise Hill version, but in this one it's really nice just to get an extra resource in, and because we run 7 Tachyon as a consistency card to search Surge, also search another non-engine card, and also search the Thunder Kaiju, generating any sort of hand advantage that we don't mind putting back is really nice. There was a point where I was like, I want to run 3 Alternator, but I've got Skull Mice so much this event that it's put me off a little bit. I think 2's fine. I think 2 is mandatory because you do have a lot of situations where you're setting an Alternator, grain popping, but you are also like placing it with Breakaway. So you need 2 to generate all your resource as much as you can in your engine. Return Stroke I feel like is very much needed. You can use it turn 1 with like the Whisker and Crackle combo to make sure you keep your resources in hand and make sure you're ready to take out any follow-up they do at all. And obviously the Spell Negate in a format where like a lot of decks are on like Board Breakers, Book of Eclipse, Dark Hole. You can just flip this, you don't need to care about the Dark Hole. It stops all Blitzclique's monsters being destroyed by card effects. 7 Tachyon's perfect. Shame it's a mismatch rarity, but what can you do? But obviously we don't play from the extra deck that much, and the majority of extra deck stuff is XEs, so if I do ever need to it, like the XEs are like the most flexible option. But I barely went into the extra deck and have it matter, so I don't think it's much of an issue. One last very fun card, Thunder King Ryo. So I made the choice to main this, mainly because you can set it up so with Alternator to Ryo on your opponent's turn if you set it up going first. It's weird. It won me a game against Mitsurugi because of Mitsurugi Yasartic, because basically obviously they can't search, they have the whole point in that deck to like generate resources, but I never found myself prioritizing this over like other cards. Like in that matchup I drew it for turn and I just normal summoned it. So this is probably cuttable and you can probably make room for other points, to be honest. Like I feel like Perulia would be really good in this deck because like you just want the ability to like put your opponent on the clock and either give you resources or make them pass turn to you and you have like somewhat of a half board to go through. But this is probably the most cuttable card in like the engine cards. So that's the main deck. Now we get to non-engine. Non-engine obviously is like highly points in Genesys, so I went with like the ones that I felt like had the most impact, and I feel like almost every non-engine card came up in this. So we have 3 filler. This just has enough of coverage into the format that it's good enough. Obviously in like say like the mirror, it kind of sucks because obviously it's just a dead card. Even then, like I think I ran into a Sacred Beast Blitzclique build, a 60 card build. That deck's crazy, but you can still find usage, and of course you can just side it out if you feel like it's not going to work out. We spent 4 points each for 2 copies of Ghost Ogre. This has been quite nice. There are a lot of field spells. There's a lot of continuous spells that like help help the game plan of a lot of decks in the format, and obviously it really synergizes well with the Blitzclique because they'll trigger off it and keep you gaining advantage. It was pretty good. I didn't see it that much. I didn't hit any like super high impact field spells, but I think I'd consider bumping this up to 3 if I got rid of the Raya. Another one that helps with like the game plan, we have 3 Dogmatic Fleur-de-Lis and the Punishment. Big shout out to Ailish for lending me this very last minute. These cards are so crazy into the format. I think a lot of people are on like pet decks, and a lot of pet decks are not like this where like you don't use the extra at all. Like this is very like this is a very like easy card to go into. Like this is like a god card in the Melfi matchup because they try and go for like their XEs and you find a spot where like they maybe don't have monster on field, so they trigger it and you summon a punishment and you can send some interesting targets that we'll get to later in the extra. And then the last bits of non-engine are DD Crow. I did feel like I had to have some amount of graveyard hate. It was between this and Skullmeister. There was consideration for Skullmeister, and I think with Blitzclique in the format, if I do play a big event again, I'll consider Skullmeister a lot more, just because like I feel like stopping the alternator surge can stop a lot of like gas from the Blitzclique, like say in the mirror. And then what's almost a mandatory entry requirement is Pair-Best Gear. This is a really good card. It has good synergy with the deck when it resolves. I've had it resolve like twice in the whole 14-round tournament. A lot of the time people just reveal another Pair-Best Gear, but you need to run it because you don't want to be sacked by it. I don't think this deck is super sacked by it because like if your engine, your monster is destroyed, you have a lot of recoverability, but it is still nice to have. You don't really want to give anyone an inch in this format to recur resources and let them go back into the game, because once you're done popping you don't really have any like floodgates apart from the Ryo or like anything else. Like you have a very like not telegraph, but you have a very flexible game plan, but that game plan is destroying cards, and if that doesn't stop your opponent, then you will have a long game on your hands. So that's the main deck. Really composed of dogmatic punishment targets. You get locked out so quickly that basically there's not too much point in running it. After later rounds, I did consider some more generic stuff because I didn't realise that Dogmatic Fleur-de-Lis didn't lock you on the summon. The only lock is from punishments. So probably something to consider in the future. I'll go over it. So we'll go over the extra. So we'll go over the fusions. These are almost, I didn't use any of these fusions except the one. So we have Chaotic Sacred Beast, the misprint, because I haven't been to exchange it yet. And we have Lunalight Perfume Dancer. Chaotic Sacred Beast is mainly for big targets. There's not really any great big targets to send with punishment that have bonus effects. So I just decided to put this in and just have an option to out a big guy. Perfume Dancer. This is in theory for an OTK. You can Ultimate Slayer, send a fusion, have this, and then if your opponent leaves attack position bodies, your bodies get so big with like field spell, and obviously like you place an alternator that reduces attack. You can theoretically OTK through a lot of 0-point bodies. And then the best fusion monster in this extra deck is Blazing Bombardment Beast. So going into the format, I did think Melfi was a really good deck. It generates a lot of resources, but its game plan is a little flawed. If they can't get off the ground with the resources, they just can't get off the ground at all. So when you punishment, you can try and catch them on as I said before, try and catch them on the Melfi of the Forest. Then you can summon your Ecclesia. Your punishment's not live that turn, but when it comes to your turn, you can just punishment, send this, take another body out. You're taking out 2 cards, and it's really hard for them to come back. They have a lot more limited resources once you do that, and so honestly, like this is like the MVP card of the day. It's so good. So for the synchros, these weren't really used that much. I think the only one that I might use is the Packet. You do struggle with decks that can basically throw down a monster that can't be destroyed. We get to the point, I had a few matches where I played against a Fairy Tale and they summoned a Quintet Magician, and I went, yeah, yeah. So you do need this. It's probably fine for the discard because your resources add themselves back so much that you don't mind the discard, even if it whiffs. Toxic Boxfish is for if I got locked under, like, say, Deep Fissure or something that, like, banished or started to banish stuff. Never really came up. I could probably find a better target, but I think it was a lot of, like, last minute testing, so we kind of stuck with, like, whatever we could find. Wind Pegasus. This isn't a nice card in theory. It's nice for the mirror because, like, obviously if you're never really getting the punishment off, but if I think I've seen a few builds that might summon from the extra deck before they commit to the field, like the Sacred Beast one, so you could send this and then obviously have, like, basically a trap waiting in the grave to punish them if you start, like, threatening your board. Now we get to the main portion, the Xyz. So a lot of these are theory. They came up because it could potentially come up. Like, say, like, I use my board, comes back to my turn, I have bodies on field. So that's, like, the main theory of Chance. So we have Armor Torpedo, shout out to Phantom Knights. We have Castel, Giant Hand, Exciton for the rank 4s. Giant Hand's a must run because of Tachyon, you can Surge. Exciton's okay. Castel is also another option in case, like, your opponent slams down a monster that can't be destroyed. It's just, like, probably one of the only good removal targets, removal cards to try and out, like, an undestructible card. And Armored Torpedoes there in case, like, you say have, like, 2 crackles. It's very unlikely you're going to get to that situation for the most part without being locked anyway. So for hires, we have Double Valor. Obviously, this card's really good. You send it with punishment. You punish your opponent in the end phase for, like, trying to set cards. Really good. We spent 4 points on Aggregator. Ironically, this never came up. It's good in theory because it's, like, a good punishment target. It's also, like, a good ultimate slide target. But just by how, like, the format has been, I don't think I've ran into many Xyz decks. And, like, whenever I've punishment something, it's normally in the end phase where, like, you're trying to set up, or it's normally, like, when I want to remove a body. So, like, this is good in theory, but never came up in this one. And then we have the last two extra cards. Tachyon Dragon is here to search a Dogmatica Fleur-de-Lis, with rank 8 light, and Fleur-de-Lis is a level 8 light. And then this is it here in theory to search one of the cards inside deck. This is for the Thunder Kaiju, but I never revealed this card. So that's extra deck. We'll get to the side deck. So the side deck theory was mainly just more generic stuff to try and help with the format. I didn't put many points in this just because I want to try and keep the main deck as optimal as possible. You want to put the points in the main deck so you use them more. We do have some side deck cards that are pointed, but they're very low. So first we have Heckhan's Godos. Godos is a really good card in this format just because a lot of decks rely on the resources in the grave. Say, like, against RGA, you can, when they send for cost for Bone Archfiend, you can snatch whatever they want. There should be a consideration in the extra deck because you can theoretically take tuners and then make big bodies with this just to try and threaten the board. Obviously, like, you're committing to a graveyard disruption and also a body after. So maybe, like, something like Chen Ying, maybe Wing Pegasus adding this to Miss Summonable, and so then that's the past bit. But if I had to, I'd probably consider maybe, like, a rank level 10. So. Then we get into the Kaijus. We won 1 Dogoran, 1 Godala, and 1 Thunder Strike Kaiju. Lightning Strike, sorry. These are all here for Interrupt the Kaiju. So, obviously, Kaiju the Kaijus, but in Engine, you can search a Kaiju, because the alternator adds any generic Thunder. So, in theory, you can just search your Thunder King and then out a body, but that does net neg you, though. You basically have to put a Blitzclique card back into deck and then add the monster, and that's if they don't interrupt it. And so for the most part, it's never really come up in the matches that I played. Interrupt Kaiju Slumber is kind of needed at the moment because when Melfi sets up, like, their 5 monster board, you can't super efficiently out it with Blitzclique Engine. You don't have enough ways to stop them from hitting the bodies hitting the field. The only way you can do that is by board wiping them. And you this is probably the freest board wipe in the game. Literally free. So those are most of the other ones. So we got some more here. These are the only points in the side deck. We have Ultimate Slayer. Ultimate Slayer is really good. I had a Fairy Tale match where it could have theoretically done a lot because there are, even though the format is a little bit lower power, there is still a lot of negate boards where basically there's a lot of stuff to push through, and Blitzclique can't effectively push through if it's like a lot of monster negates or just generic omni negates. So it's nice to have an option just to make the board simplified and then pave the way for your Blitzclique cards. And then the last side deck card, shout out to Seb, lending me these last minute. We have Typhoon. This is just a generically good card into the format. There's a lot of cards, a lot of decks that place field spells, place continuous spells, and start generating resources. Sacred Beast do it. This deck does it. You place alternate, place a field spell, you can start outing stuff. It's in theory also possible to have your Blitzclique engine and then have this in hand just to try and trigger it. And obviously as a hand trap, it's really nice just to have. Because this style of deck plays very much like a hand trap deck in modern format, where you want to control the board as much as you can and then pave the way for your strong and basically non-engine Blitzclique cards to clean up a board and then push for game or set up a game state where you're winning almost always. And that's the side deck. So big shout outs. Obviously Gamers Lodge, great store in Liverpool. Always glad to represent them. Big shout out to Ben Patterson from Chester. He lent me the Crackles. So he lent me the very nice shiny Crackle and the extra copies are needed. So big shout out to him. These are so nice to have during the day. Very shiny, very shiny. Basically, and everyone else, of course, to Crumpet TCG for being here, documenting the whole experience. I look forward to seeing this, both the deck profile and the big video. And thanks to everyone, Seb, Emily, Ailish, everyone from Chester, Callum, Ben, Finn, Tom, Alice as well, seeing around the venue, Jacob, seeing him as well. Thanks to everyone who just made the whole weekend such a joy to be around. Not too much, still a bit stressful, but we got the mat. This is the nicest mat I've ever had.
Well, Seb, well done. First Premier event, you go top. First of many, I am sure. We're all very proud of you, and yeah, have a good one going forward.